Mike.
Hey.
So in an earlier video, we talked a little bit about is ETL dead? Is the data warehouse still relevant?
Yep.
ETL is not dead. Data warehouse is still relevant, just for a recap. But I've also heard something from some of the same crowd that the DBA role is dead or is going away.
Yeah.
Love to get, as someone who does a lot of DBA type operations, love to get your take on that.
Yeah, no thanks. Have you heard people say over the years the relational database is dead?
I have heard that.
And they've been saying that since 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And really, relational DBs came out in late 60s, 70s, right? So, and really since the beginning they've been saying that. And the truth is that they never went away. New things came, and sometimes sometimes new things are adopted and used. I don't know if object-oriented databases really ever took off, but that was one of the, this is going to kill them, and Hadoop's used, and Cassandra and Mongo and all the not only SQL DBs and the graph databases, they're still here, but the relational database is still there plodding along. Same thing with the DBA. I actually think my job, and I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats, right? I build availability groups. I do performance tuning. I teach new DBAs. I do a lot of DBA retainer services. I think my job and my role and my tasks are, I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but I think they're threatened more than your job. You kind of explained, no, it's not really dead. Yeah, there's new tools you got to learn, but it's still, you still need a human. The human, you see the human there for the next 20, 30 years.
Right.
And then you retire and who cares? You could still teach your kids ETL and have them do that if you want them to have that career. I wouldn't encourage one of my children to necessarily become a DBA. And here's the problem. It's a whole definition problem, right? What is a DBA, right? And when you say DBA, what do you think? Let me just ask you, what's a DBA?
So ultimately, a DBA is responsible for protecting the data and keeping the data up and running as quickly as possible.
Yep. So that role is not gone. That role will never be gone. But some people here, some people watching this here, infrastructure DBA. All I do is tune indexes, add logins and users, write backup routines, write restores, make sure I have database integrity, fix corruption. Some of those infrastructure roles are changing. SQL Server 2017 is actually implementing some of the adaptive query tuning and some of the improvements found in Azure and Azure SQL DB.
Right.
And Azure SQL DB, there's an option out there right now that it can use machine learning and AI basically, and it can actually look at your data and it can create indexes for you. Now, some DBAs hear this, oh no, like that's me. Why are you doing that, SQL? But I actually love that. I think it's great. If you think about it, can the machine learning enabled sort of built-in index tuning write an index as well as I could if I had time to analyze it and pull all the threads and watch the queries and look at this and look at that and make an index decision? Probably not. I hope not. I think I'm probably better than the machine can do right now. But can I do that if I'm a production DBA on every single database in my entire environment and give it that attention? What do you think?
Probably not.
Yeah,
if you're in a big enough environment, certainly not.
I have some clients who have multiple clients, and each of their customers has their own database. So I have one client that has 400 to 600 databases on an availability group, and they have 2 or 3 availability groups for 400 to 600 databases, all for different clients. Same schema for the most part, but a big client that maybe runs reports this way and one that runs in this way, all use it a little bit differently. So how do you maintain indexes on 600 different databases on one SQL server and have enough time in the day? That sounds like a full-time job to do it right. So, but here you can press a button and say, yep, go ahead and do it, and make suggestions. And long story short, and this isn't really technical, Chad, but Azure SQL DB will watch the query plans. It'll look at what it thinks it wants for indexes. It'll watch data for a couple days. It won't just make the index. It'll say, yep, this index really does make sense, and then make the index. And it can also clean up the indexes when they're not necessary anymore, because we know people change usage patterns.
Sure.
So that's happening. With a simple PowerShell script or 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 clicks of a mouse, I can have an availability group in Azure. I can, if I want to restore to a point in time, today I have to script out a restore script. That's really easy. Hopefully every DBA watching has done that before. I really hope they have, but so many haven't. But it's pretty easy to find find a script, write a script. You can right click and use the slider, but in Azure SQL DB, you just say, I want to restore to yesterday at 3:37 a.m. and I want it to be in a new database with a new name, or I want to restore my existing database. Press the go button and then just go away, and go get a cup of coffee and come back and say, yep, I saved the day, everything's good. So, is the DBA dead? No, but the DBA is changing. You have to, you have to do other things. You can't just be the one person has access and blocks developers and says, I am the DBA, you will not come past me. You know that DBA, right? You've worked with them before.
I've worked with that person.
That they do exist. Like that DBA, I think might be dying. It's going to be it's going to be a 10-year death process, but they're dying. I mean, I have clients that are on SQL Server 2000. I don't like admitting that, right? But I have in 2005. Not many, but they're there. So there's still COBOL out there, right? So it's going to take time, but some of those tasks are being replaced. And really, frankly, I think they should be. I mean,
I agree.
Do you think we should be worrying about exact indexing? I mean, honestly,
if you're dealing with that volume of data, you can't. You can't get that precise.
You'll never get it right.
There was one story that I remember about an interviewee, a candidate that we were interviewing for a job. And this was for more of a BI role, but we were really interested in this person's take on automation, on some of the tasks that you're talking about. The question that we offered up to this candidate was, tell us about a typical day for you.
Sure.
And this candidate, the first reply was, well, I get up at 6 a.m. before I ever come into the office, and I run a script to update the statistics. For DBAs like that, who are doing a lot of manual work that could be automated, I would concur with you that the DBA is not dead, but that type of DBA is going away, one that relies purely on manual processes, on I'm going to fix the problems that I see in front of me, but there's not really a lot of automation that goes on. Those types of DBAs, I think they will be going away.
I think the DBA role really is replaced more with a data specialist. You know, like you said, like I love your definition. I actually didn't know what you were going to say for definition, but I love it because you're really the protector of the data, and you are the protector and steward of data, and you work with development, and maybe you spin up the cloud pieces. Maybe you work with the on-premise this, and you work with the ETL people to make sure that the data quality is there. You care about the data, and you make it work. You're less of a button pusher. I don't know if you remember the PASS. Was it PASS? Did Steve Ballmer come speak at PASS ever?
Not that I recall.
Somebody spoke at PASS. Maybe it wasn't Ballmer, or maybe somebody was just telling a story he said, but it was PASS maybe in 2005 or 6, and they were talking about Oracle, and he asked the room. He said, "Raise your hands if you like SQL Server. Raise your hands if you like Oracle." And some hands went up. And then he said, I'm sorry, I got it backwards, but I'll say it anyway. He said, "Raise your hands if you like tuning queries." And hands went up. He said, "Raise your hands if you like tweaking this setting and tweaking that setting," and hands stayed up. And he says, "Keep your hands up if you remember the old console TVs and you liked having to adjust the V hold and the H hold and get the TV just right." And a few hands probably jokingly went up, or maybe they really meant it. And then he said, "Those people are the Oracle DBAs." And what he meant was, SQL Server at that time even was ahead of the game. Like you could adjust memory settings, but you couldn't adjust PRAM and SRAM and all the finite settings you can do in Oracle. So Microsoft's always kind of abstracted some of those geekier settings from us. Now we have access to some of them, but not all of them. And SQL's still a superior and great platform, and it's working just fine. So it's like it's for the better, but you need to be prepared. If you are that DBA we described, it's time to learn. It's time to learn the new technologies out there and get used to those.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Thank you.
Good take. Thanks for that, Mike.
Thanks.